Good morning and welcome to Benzinga's very special AI and the Future virtual event. I'm Matt Steinmetz. I'm Vice President of Virtual Events here at Benzinga, and I couldn't be more pleased than to be kicking off today's program. We've assembled an incredibly accomplished lineup of executives, and we've asked them to tackle the transformative role that artificial intelligence is having, and more importantly, will increasingly have across a really diverse set of industries. And look, let's be honest. A lot of what we're going to hear and learn today will be out of date soon, right? I mean, 6 months ago, most of us had never heard of ChatGPT, but really, that's the reality when you're talking about a generational technology at its tipping point of adoption, like we're seeing right now with AI. So, to know where we're headed and specifically how to invest appropriately, it's really important to understand where we've been, where we've come from, and where we are today. And so today we're joined by 9 experts, 9 visionaries whose own work and whose company's work is really accelerating the impact of AI on countless industries. Now, of course, none of today's programming is possible without the generous support of our sponsors. So I want to briefly acknowledge each of those great partners now. A big Benzinga thank you goes out to Kaiju ETF Advisors, Toggle 3D AI, Recore versus AI, and Craft Technologies. Thank you so much. And another quick thank you to our technology partner, Daily Hunt. Now, finally, if you enjoyed today's programming, and I hope you will, I'm sure you will, check out what Benzinga has coming up on the live event and virtual event front in the near future. You can do so at benzinga.com/events. All right, let's get today's program underway. Kicking things off with a very special keynote presentation is Qualcomm President and CEO, Cristiano Amon. We are so thrilled to have him today, so please join me in welcoming Cristiano.
Thank you. It's great to be part of Benzinga's inaugural AI in the Future conference, and to be talking about a technology that is at the center of conversation in many circles across virtually every industry. Artificial intelligence has quickly become one of the most significant and influential technologies of our time. This is due in part to the rise of generative AI, which promises to create new experiences and opportunities for enterprises and consumers, touching every corner of our lives. You may not realize it, but AI already enhances many aspects of the smartphone experience, from photography and power management to connectivity performance, malware detection, and so much more. Integrating intelligence on the device is critical to realizing the full potential of these experiences, providing greater immediacy, reliability, personalization, privacy, and affordability. With generative AI, your smartphone can become a true digital assistant thanks to the combination of very accurate on-device personas and large language models understanding text, images, and other inputs to provide more meaningful responses. The same capabilities will extend to our cars, as AI-driven cockpits will allow the driver and passengers to more naturally interact with and control entertainment, navigation, and vehicle functions to create more personalized and intuitive experiences. Enterprise users can increase their productivity by utilizing generative AI to read and compose emails, draft documents, analyze data in spreadsheets, and automatically create presentations from meeting notes. Within the industrial sector, it will be used to assess large data sets, to optimize sourcing strategies, improve manufacturing efficiencies, and bring products to market more quickly. And in retail, AI-enabled kiosks and smart carts can assist shoppers by making menus with recipes using weekly specials, budget constraints, and family preferences. Enabling generative AI on device will help accelerate adoption everywhere, optimize the rising costs of cloud infrastructure, and enable distributed processing between edge devices and the cloud with hybrid AI. In a hybrid AI architecture, on-device AI processing provides reliable performance that can be comparable to the cloud for well-trained models, or potentially even better when real-time contextual data is relevant. Additionally, on-device AI will give the cloud a head start for more complex use cases. On-device AI and hybrid AI are also critical for enterprise and workplace use of generative AI, where the need to protect company confidential information is paramount. The same applies to consumer privacy. AI models with over 1 billion parameters are already running on phones with performance similar to those of the cloud. And soon, we'll be able to run models with up to 20 billion parameters. Building on years of AI research and product development, including our pioneering work and leadership with on-device intelligence, Qualcomm is focused on creating the technologies and solutions essential to enable this new era of hybrid AI and accelerating the AI-powered future. The opportunities and potential applications with generative AI across industries and experiences are incredibly exciting and truly limitless. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the event.
All right, how we doing? Thank you for Cristiano, Amon, of course, President and CEO of Qualcomm, and I'm excited, guys. It's welcome to Benzinga, of course, the channel that brings you the latest and greatest in technology opportunities. I'm Money Mitch, and we have an incredible interview for you guys today. I'm thrilled to introduce our guest today, Ryan Pannell, CEO of Kaiju ETF Advisors. Let's go ahead and bring on Ryan here. How we doing today, Ryan?
Good, Mitch. How are you doing? Having nice to be on again.
Yeah, excited to go ahead and get into it. So let's get right on to it. Why should investors trust AI to guide their investments, considering all the uncertainty surrounding this technology?
That's a good question. I think that's probably the question of the moment, right? I think to understand, or I guess to answer the question of why investors should trust AI, we should be asking why they're not, right? I mean, like as you said, there's a lot of skepticism. There's heavy disquiet around this technology. Where's that come from? And I think as you and I touched on back in December, like you're still less than a year away from what I think a lot of investors are seeing as pretty heavy betrayal in the crypto sector. And there again, you have this valuable new technology, blockchain, which 95% of people active in that asset space didn't really understand. You have an entire industry that grew up around it, tokenized assets. And there's some beneficial technologies there. There's some great novel ideas. There were some fantastic opportunities. But there was also a mechanism that allowed, what turned out to be widespread global fraud. And the echo from that hasn't really faded yet. And now you have this new technology, yet another new technology, bleeding edge, with a bunch of scientists that look and sound substantially similar, saying, oh, hey, this is fantastic. It's going to change the world. It's going to change your life for the better. You should totally trust me. And investors are saying, I don't think so. Not this time around. And that's really the environment in which we're working right now. Is we're trying to recover sort of these two essential components that are present in every single rapid adoption of new technology, and that's trust and certainty. And so, the trust comes from transparency, really, I think. And instead of just saying, I know you don't understand this technology, you find it complex or you find it disquieting, but that's okay. We got this. We're smart people. There's a need for us to provide transparency and education. We're not just willy-nilly using this stuff. We're using it responsibly. Okay, prove it. Okay, well, this is how we're using it. Which part don't you understand? How can we help? It's the key thing, no matter what the evangelists are saying these days, is that the creation, implementation, and use of large-scale AI systems is extremely complex. It's very difficult work to do. But understanding AI, machine learning, the technology stack itself isn't that complicated. And so if we can do that, if we can educate, if we can explain, and then, through the performance of the technology that we're all touting is the next greatest thing, regain the certainty, I think investors will be in a place to start to think about trusting it the way that they've trusted other novel technologies. And then at that point, I think investors know why they should trust AI ultimately. Like once you've regained this trust, once you've built the certainty, why are they trusting it to manage their investments? Because they know that it's potentially extraordinarily powerful and beyond human capabilities in some areas. So it'll sell itself once we do the heavy lifting of recovering, I think, this lost trust.
Well, I think it would be great to just share examples of what has gone wrong in AI in the investment management space and what positive developments we can look forward to in the future.
Yeah, sure. I mean, as you know, like we've been involved with this at Kaiju for, like I like to say, long enough to have been made fun of for it. So it's a validating time for us. But you go back a number of years now, and I mean, I watched an early system of ours. This is before we had regime change detection engines, regime classification engines. Our AI risk containment system, the ARC, like it wasn't invented yet. And despite all of that, it's still a pretty sophisticated system. You had 5,200 collaborative neural nets working on this one strategy and robustly tested with the capacity that we had available to us at the time. And after 4 months of outperformance at a level that we were, not publicly disclosing because nobody would believe it. It was like ridiculous numbers. On the 5th month, I watched this thing drive a busload of money, including a fair bit of mine, like off a cliff. And it had not seen a new type of or I guess, yeah, we could call it stratified sector rotation and distribution. And it was a new pattern. It didn't appear in any of the historical tick level data that we trained the model on. And that was rough to live through. It was very disappointing. And our retraining at that time, I mean, again, going back several years, the retraining was like weeks. We took this thing offline. I swear some of the AI scientists we have here like locked themselves in their rooms for a week. I mean, it was incredibly disheartening, but it led us to build these incredibly powerful engines, including the ARC, which is just mind-bogglingly robust in terms of risk management capabilities. And that's taken us to where we are today. So hard knocks. The challenges being the availability of clean data just wasn't what it is today. The infrastructure on which we build these systems, there's nothing off the shelf. Everything was proprietary. There weren't a lot of professionals working in the fields. You're pulling derivatives mathematicians who had done work in AI, physicists, other technologists, and even in biotech or telecommunications. And yoking their strength to build these systems for which you had no blueprint. So that was then. Now, the technology itself is more accessible. It's vastly more powerful. There's a deeper talent pool. I mean, it's still tough. Talent acquisition, I would say, is the toughest thing in AI right now. But the capabilities are there. And, we've gone from these retraining cycles of like weeks to our short retraining cycles are overnight. They're like close to open. This thing is, crunches 6 million iterations of a specific type of strategy and then back it goes. DIP, our AI curated and directed ETF, retrains over the weekend. So every single weekend, billions of games, it's playing using what happened the previous week, tick level from the past 15 years across every tradable equity, and it comes back on Monday smarter. So I think there it's got a bright future. But yeah, in the beginning, it was a rocky and ugly start.
Yeah, I think that's how it goes, right? And I think that you guys have been on it since early, and I think that definitely has helped you guys get an advantage. Now, can you highlight the key distinctions between ETFs that focus on providing exposure to AI-themed companies and actual ETFs that are utilizing AI for their investment management decisions? And how do these approaches differ in terms of potential risk and benefits?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think if you're an investor who believes that there's opportunity in AI, that this really is sort of the next great thing, and you want some exposure to that, you have these two options. You can either invest in an ETF that offers thematic exposures, a basket of companies that are leading the way in AI technology development. Or you can invest in an ETF which uses AI in order to curate and direct the portfolio management itself. There's a trust component to both. On the curated and directed side, the full AI ETF, you need to trust that the manufacturer knows what the hell they're doing. That this is a reasonable application, a responsible application of AI. And on the thematic side, well, then you have to trust. It's sort of two layers there. You have to trust that the portfolio managers, which are invariably human, are selecting the appropriate companies to place in that basket. And then by extension, that the companies that the portfolio management company has, that the sub-advisor or advisor has selected, are themselves going to responsibly develop whatever they're doing with respect to AI. So on the curated and directed side, you have sort of one layer of risk. And then on the thematic exposure side, you have two layers. And then, one more step with the thematic side is, and I find this sort of amusing because obviously we're proponents of the fully AI curated and directed ETF. DIP is all AI. We manage it from the perspective of guardrails and making sure the technology is operating properly. But it's the AI system that's making the investment decisions there. On the thematic exposure side, if the managers really believe that AI is the technology of the future, and they're selling access to this through their curated basket of companies leading the way, why isn't an AI system making those decisions for that ETF? It's like, okay, so AI is the next greatest thing, but are you actually using AI in any capacity here? And they might be at sort of a candidate selection, curation level, some pattern recognition. But most of the time you're talking, again, a layer of human active management in the AI space. So it's up to the individual investor at the end of the day what they're most comfortable with and where they want to benefit.
Last one here. Can you provide insights in the way that AI is transforming analysis, trading, and risk assessment and portfolio management?
Sure. I mean, on the institutional side, there's a couple years of this already. It's not really leaking through to the retail side, although I believe that's coming. I think everyone's aware of the fact that AI is able to, crunch an enormous amount of data. So from the candidate selection process, by whatever criteria, you're looking to utilize, to the, let's say, liquidity filter for executions, for especially in the options market, fair theo price, AI is going to be able to perform those tasks better than people can. Ultimately, giant funds, giant managers are absolutely using this on the risk side for holistic portfolio management. It's monitoring everything at a tick level simultaneously, so it can make these micrometric adjustments to holdings in order to make sure that whatever the chief risk officer has set as risk parameters are going to be, safeguarded. On the retail side, I do think you will see this trickle through ultimately. I think retail traders are going to find some tools coming out in the next couple of years that will enable them to, propose a trade, propose a strategy, and then have this system crunch through and give it some appropriate feedback. This strategy would never have worked ever and probably won't in the future. This trade, if executed under these conditions in the past, would have worked 900 out of 945 times. Okay, great. Now I have more confidence in that. So I think you're going to see that. And I think as well, the big financial institutions that provide client broker services will probably add an element of risk management at the portfolio level, in terms of feedback. Hey, just so you know, you're unhedged on this side, you're overweighted in this sector, you may consider something like this, or this in order to balance out this portfolio. Click here to learn more about holistic portfolio risk or risk management in general, or whatever, they want to link to at that point. So I think that's where we're going at this stage.
Well, I just want to thank you, of course, for joining us on Benzinga, your go-to source for the latest in technology and investment trends. We hope you enjoyed this interview. Now over to thank you, Ryan, for joining me. Now over to Zunaid as we get over to Toggle 3D. Excited to keep going in our AI event.
Awesome. Appreciate that, Mitch. Thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on as well. And the show will continue. AI 3D. How do you kind of mix these combos and make something great of it? We've got Evan Gappelberg, who is the founder and CEO of Toggle3D.ai. So let's go ahead and have Evan come on and join us. Evan, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm doing well. And like I said, I mean, you've got 3D, which I thought would take over the world by now. And you've also got AI, which looks to be taking over the world. So before I kind of hand over the keys to you, if you could just explain it to me like I'm five, what is it that your company does?
Sure. So before we get to even that, I think it's important to just kind of set the stage where in 2023, I think everyone can agree that AI has really reinvented the computer industry from the ground up in every way. This is the rebirth of the computer industry. And there's tons and tons of new opportunities, lots of AI companies that are sprouting up every day. Toggle 3D just went public 30 days ago today. So today is
Awesome.
our 1 month anniversary. And AI is a very, very interesting piece of technology, revolutionary, really. And from Toggle's perspective, we are using AI to create the next billion-dollar design studio. If you look at some of the design studios over the last couple of years that have emerged without AI, Figma, Canva, Adobe is now dabbling in it, but Toggle 3D is purpose-built using AI specifically to convert CAD files to 3D using augmented reality in a web-based design studio for everyone. So anyone can use Toggle 3D. You don't need a PhD. You don't need to be a graphic designer. And so that is the magic of Toggle. And so with that, Toggle is gaining a lot of market share in these early days. Again, we just went public 30 days ago. So yeah.
Well, congrats on that. And I'll tell you what, the keys are yours. I know you've got a presentation, so let us know what's up.
Sure. Can you see my screen right now?
We sure can.
Okay. I'm just going to go to, let me just go to full screen. Tell me if that works for you guys.
Yep, buffering. Should have it here momentarily. But by the way, congratulations, though. Going public is one thing, and then having a milestone of 1 month. So congratulations to you and the team for that.
Yeah. It looks like it's not.
Looks like it's just a black screen. But if you'd like, if you kind of go ahead and hit escape again.
Yeah, let me reload it and see what happens. Oh, there it is. Can you see that?
We can see that. So if you want to rock with that one, we can work with that.
Sure.
Awesome.
So, Toggle 3D, as I said, it's a web-based design studio. We convert on the web, so you don't need to do this, on any special piece of hardware. You could do this on your MacBook Air. We convert, texture, and customize 3D models all in one place. And again, as I said, it's built for anybody. When you look at the world of AI, as I mentioned, there's tons of AI startups that are coming to market. You have generative AI applications for creating images. You have generative AI applications for speech, for code, for video, for text. We fit into the 3D modeling piece of that, which is a very niche but very, very big opportunity where we're not in with ChatGPT competing on speech or text. If you look at the industry, it's experiencing massive growth. Right now, the AI industry is around 136 billion, and it's projected to hit a whopping 22 trillion over the next 7 years, which isn't even that long. I've never seen, I mean, I had to like double check, but these are the numbers. So the TAM is massive. Early target markets for Toggle, we're seeing the adoption rates really start to take off on the D2C, the B2B, which is manufacturers, 3D service firms and marketing agencies. We're seeing engineers and product design firms, and of course the freelance ecosystem. So it's quite a broad array of users on the Toggle platform. If you look at our competitive advantage, we're using Toggle essentially to disrupt the engineering workflow where they're currently using Autodesk or SolidWorks, or in 3D design art, they're using Adobe, Blender, or Keyshot. If you look at Toggle, you basically obsolete a lot of those technologies where we convert CAD files into a 3D mesh. There's no code on the platform, so it's super easy. For the user, it's point and click. AI first, so we're not overlaying AI on some legacy technology. AI is the engine that is driving this. If you look at the room to grow, today we have around a $28 million market capitalization. Again, we just went public. The float is a couple of million shares. It's actually a really tight float. If you look at Adobe, they went public in 1982, 176 billion market cap today. Dassault also went public in 1981, and then Autodesk in 82. And that was because technology allowed those companies to go public then. We're part of this new crop based on AI technology. We're able to disrupt the legacy players. Unlimited use cases. If you think about CAD files, every single product that's ever been made, every product that's being made and designed today, every product that's going to be made into the future, they all use CAD. So, the use cases are unlimited. Our business model is extremely scalable. We use, the SaaS platform. So you come in for free, and then you move over to a pro license. All of the AI is only available for pro users. So on the free, you get limited usage. It's, the typical. So here's the story in a nutshell. Surging user growth, up 125% in just 1 month. And there's over 8,000 projects on our platform. Again, we just launched this. We just came out of beta in June. So it's taking off. I'm just going to show you a quick demo video of what's called AI photo segmentation. This is generative AI. So what you see the couch there with like that plaid design. So that's just a picture.
Okay.
Right? And we're going to be able to just point on that picture, and you'll see in the video, and then the AI will search our texture library and pull up a texture that matches that just by pointing on it. And then by pointing on your 3D asset, it'll wrap it with this 4K fabric. So here's the video. So there's the point and click.
Right.
The AI now is searching for matching fabrics. There's your matching fabrics just from a photograph. And this is the Toggle platform where you have your 3D model, and you could see it's got that fabric design in there, and now you're just adjusting it. This saves an enormous amount of time. In the past, you might have had the picture of the fabric, and then you would have to actually recreate it.
Right.
Right. This,
Yeah. I mean, it definitely saves a lot of time from a designer to having to match the color scheme, the fabric, the pattern, this, that, and the other. So definitely usable for sure.
Exactly. And that's what AI really is all about, productivity. That is the secret sauce. That's what everybody's, falling over themselves for, the productivity, where you could shrink something that used to take hours or days into minutes or seconds. This is, again, using AI to remove internal and small parts. So this would be a CAD file. We import it into the platform, and it has lots of little parts inside the CAD file. So the AI is able to go in. So you could see there's 215 parts in that first exploded view, and then there's 72 parts now in this other view, and that's because of AI. This is, again, a text to 3D material demo in our Toggle platform. So this is literally a video of Toggle using, so this is AI. We just announced this. So it's a prompt, just like Chat GPT, right? You could see, she typed in red leather texture. It starts to populate red leather textures. You literally point and click, and it wraps the 3D model in red leather. You could type in wood, texture. You could type in any kind of texture. So here's black marble, stone texture. This is game-changing technology, again, for designers to be able to design 3D models just by typing in a text prompt. Never been done before, I could tell you that. And it increases productivity quite dramatically. And so this is only available on Toggle 3D. And that's pretty much it for my presentation.
Awesome. Appreciate that. That was really cool. I'm glad you got a chance to show us because, the whole thing about AI where we use it in my personal life, things like that, is to make sure you can increase your productivity and kind of have that quality work and not just the admin side of things. So that's really cool. I love the fact that you can take a picture of it, and then find a way to use 3D with it. Again, a combination of AI is a dangerous one. So thank you so much for hopping on. I really appreciate your time.
Sure. And I would just say that, this is the dawn of a new era. And when you look at the public companies to invest in for, AI to kind of get a piece of that runaway freight train. There's only a few startups that actually exist as in the public markets. Otherwise, you have to chase after the Microsofts of the world, right? Or the NVIDIAs. So, Toggle really does represent that pure play AI small cap company with massive upside potential, 10x, 100x, pick a number.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you so much. Really looking forward to what you do. Congrats again on the 30 days, and looking forward to having more conversations with you in the future.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. No problem at all. The show will continue. So let me go ahead and bring on Aaron Bree, my man. What you got?
What is up, Zunaid? How you doing?
Doing well, man. It's all yours.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. I'm going to be talking to David DeHarnay from Recore AI, ticker REKR. Yes, a publicly traded company. Very excited for this discussion with David. So I think without further ado, let's go ahead and bring David on. David, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Aaron. Good to be with you.
All right. So I know people, they just heard me say your last name, DeHarnay, but now they see it, and it doesn't look anything like it sounds. So how did I do on the pronunciation there?
You nailed it, actually. Yeah, every teacher in my whole life has got it wrong, for sure.
What's the most common?
Was always a difficult point.
What's the most common way you hear it pronounced?
Deshana. That's what I hear.
Just with a lot of uncertainty.
Exactly.
All right. Well, David, let's hop right into it. So we all know how, Chat GPT works, right? You give it a prompt, it gives you an answer. You can kind of massage that prompt. But Recore's working with, highways, roads. How do you give a prompt to I-95? I mean, seriously, you guys are kind of revolutionizing this. Tell me more about how AI works in this capacity.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype around AI, and particularly generative AI, et cetera. What's interesting is that the transportation domain and infrastructure that we depend on as a competitive nation is really has not been changed since the Eisenhower administration in any meaningful way. The roadways that we're driving on, the streets and the signals that we're working with are really quite legacy. And in fact, if you were to look at a report card of what the nation's infrastructure is today, you'd be surprised to learn that it's a C-. And if you look at things like bridges and concrete and asphalt and the things that really make up that existing infrastructure, it's at a D+. And so that's not very comforting when you're a person that's using the roadways. So what's happening is there's a big disruption in this domain, which maybe people don't necessarily see every day because it's digital, because it's AI based. And we've seen this happen in the hotel industry. We've seen this happen in the taxi industry. We've seen this happen in the fintech and lending industry. And I'll tell you, it's coming full steam ahead to the transportation and infrastructure domain as well. Now, the thing that's interesting is that what's fueling this is that an enormous generational investment is being made in that infrastructure to really take care of public safety, climate and greenhouse gas emissions, and generally efficiency on roadways, which I think we can all say is not where we'd like it to be today. And so where AI comes in, it's not the chat GPT generative AI type, it's literally the idea of putting eyes and ears and a brain on the roadway to be able to help manage what's moving on a roadway to be more effective, more efficient, greener, safer, and ultimately save lives. And so it's really a force multiplier, and it's giving the ability for the people that are responsible for managing roadways and traffic and congestion, giving them the tools that give them awareness and the ability to make real-time decisions with accurate information instead of having to watch a video screen or wait for a 911 call. And it's really remarkable what's happening in the space, and it's rapidly being disrupted.
So as the space is being disrupted and we're seeing all this change, what makes Recore, the right company in this unique moment and to really be a massive player in this space?
Well, we're not on the AI bandwagon. There's a lot of excitement around AI right now, but we've actually been in the game for going on the better part of a decade today. We've had our Recore.ai website since the beginning in 2017. And we've been actually training our models for a long time with hundreds of millions of hours of video, with trillions or petabytes of data to train our models to make sure that they're effective at being able to identify and manage things that are moving on a roadway, from vehicles, any type of vehicle, to pedestrians and bicycles and how they interact, and in intersections on highways and neighborhoods across the board. So we've been at this for a while. And when we think about what is needed from sort of the traffic engineering and traffic management space, how you break into that space is you're an expert in that space. And we have deep bench, not only in technology, but we have expertise in traffic engineering, traffic management, what we think of as public safety and law enforcement and urban mobility and smart cities. That's really the core expertise that we bring from a subject matter expertise element, which really helps us help our customers because we understand the pain points. We understand where they're stuck. We understand the legacy technology. We understand that they're not looking to rip up and replace. They're looking to take advantage of the existing infrastructure they have, maybe put a digital layer on top, maybe add some intelligence over the top that lets them do their job better, faster, and smarter, better informed for sure. So what makes us the right company? We have the deep bench in AI. We have a rich history in AI. We've got a terrific set of experts from multiple industries that are working with our customers. And we have about 60,000 data collection spots today across the US, hundreds of thousands of roadways that are currently under management. We're taking in literally terabytes of data monthly into our systems to really create better information and better insights for traffic managers, roadway managers, departments of transportation, and customers in our portfolio.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, there's still so much work to be done in terms of the infrastructure in the United States, which is surprising to a lot of people. Like you said, like a lot of people don't know it's C minus or D+ in areas, and it's like we're the richest country in the world. We should be able to fix up our infrastructure a little bit better. What are some examples of how your customers are using Recore AI today?
Well, we have a very broad footprint. We work across the majority of the U.S. states today, multiple business lines. In fact, even the largest states in the U.S., from California to Texas to Florida, and on and on and on. We do statewide deployments across Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Virginia, across the southeast of the United States, for states that are looking to really identify what's moving on the roadway. So they call it classification, speeds, counts of vehicles. And the way that states get paid in order to run their infrastructure is they have to report to the federal government on class, count, and speed. and they're doing it with old methods today. So we work with these states as examples to bring AI that can automatically classify, count, and provide speeds and about 50 other analytics that make sense for how states will operate with the US Department of Transportation to get money in Federal Highways Administration. So that's one example. We also work with states like Texas as they're looking to reinvent their entire traffic management centers across the state. Another example would be Oregon, which is very much a leader in electric vehicle adoption. And where Oregon's struggling is they're trying to close the gap, what they forecast to be a 30 to 40% reduction in funding coming their way because electric vehicles don't fill up at a gas tank or don't fill up at a gas station, therefore gas tax isn't relevant. So we're working with the state of Oregon to make sure that they've got a path forward to do that. There's states that we work with, Nevada, Ohio, Oklahoma, across Tennessee, on and on and on across transportation management, how they manage urban mobility, and also for even things like public safety.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible just, I mean, how many states you guys are in right now and probably just going to continue to grow all across the country. David, do you mind discussing some of the strategic partnerships that Recore made with other technological, or tech companies and how these collaborations might help the future growth of the company?
You bet. What's really important is that no one company can do it all. It really takes an ecosystem approach. And so our approach has been, we're very good at what we do for sure in serving our customers, but what's really needed is to gather the ecosystem together and create a single pane of glass and a single source of truth for the roadway managers, for transportation departments, for law enforcement, for really anybody that's using our technology. And that means you have to work with the ecosystem and some of the biggest technology players in the ecosystem. So for example, one of our key partners is Amazon Web Services. We work with them very, very closely. Obviously a leading technology provider, cloud provider, and a bunch of different-
they're pretty big.
It's hard to get bigger than that. But in addition to that, I mean, Waze, I think a lot of people probably use Waze or Google Maps or Mobileye, people from a vehicle perspective, OEMs or auto manufacturers like Volvo and Ford and Haas and Stellantis and companies like here. We have about 80 partners that we work with to bring data into the system to be able to collect it, connect it, and transform that into insights that our customers can use. And it's not just data. And that's the thing, there's a lot of discussion about data is the new oil. Well, oil is not useful until you take out the impurities and you clean it and you make it into a use case and you put it in a form factor that matters. So if data is the new oil, fine. But our job is to take that data and make it mean something for our customers. And it's not just the data that we have, it's the data that is in the ecosystem that we bring together for our customers. And that's a very unique moat and area of differentiation for us.
Well, David, next time, if you're ever coming to Detroit to meet with, Ford or Stellantis or any of those companies that are up here, you'll have to let me know and we can go out and get to eat or something. So we're kind of running up on time. We've got a couple minutes left, David. Do you want to just let me know what else you think it is important for investors to know about Recore? And again, this is ticker REKR, trading on the NASDAQ, correct?
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. I think what's important for investors that are looking at, Recore or the space in general, I would say the transportation and infrastructure domain and industry is going through a massive transformation. It will be digitized. It is going to be based on AI. It is going to be, effectively code is the new concrete. AI is the new asphalt. And that's not just a funny phrase, that is literally happening. So disruption is happening and it's happening now. There's a massive need. The tech is ready. It's available, it's being deployed. Funding is available, unlike it's ever been before for this segment. So the money is flowing, people can do stuff with it. And the winning companies that investors want to look at are companies that are not just deep tech. That's one leg of the stool. It's deep tech, it's subject matter expertise in the industry, as well as a footprint that creates a flywheel. And that's what we have at Recore, the ability to marry physical and digital together. So when you think of Recore, I think the key is you're going to see a rapid rise. You're seeing it already in how we're serving our customers today and how that's reflecting in the market. So we're excited, and our leadership team is 100% mission focused.
Well, David, it's great to have you on. It was great to learn more about Recore today. I know we didn't get to everything, so we got to have you back on in the future. But I'm sure our audience appreciated, again, learning a little bit more about how AI is going to impact our roadways and highways, because this is something that impacts all of us. David, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Aaron. Talk to you soon.
Of course. All righty, guys, we are going to keep it ticking. Zunaid coming up next. No, Mitch, Money Mitch, and Zunaid. Oh, we're both. Sorry.
Money Mitch, I got
Money
you.
Mitch,
All
how
right.
you doing, Mitch?
All right, let's keep it going. Of course, I'm delighted to continue our series of captivating interviews here with remarkable guests in AI industry. Of course, Michael Lucas, President and CEO of TrueMark Investments. As we dive deeper into AI investment opportunities, we have the privilege of gaining unique insights from one of the industry's most knowledgeable leaders. I'm happy to have Michael back on. I've interviewed him in the past, so excited to get to the action. It's good to see you, Michael. Let's get to it.
Yeah, good to see you, Mitch. Thanks
Always
for
good to
having me
have
back.
you.
Yeah.
What is that, San Francisco in the back?
I thought it was appropriate. What do you think?
I like it. Let's get to the action. How has adoption of AI in various industries affected the business models of companies over the past 5 years?
Now, Mitch, great question. I guess my response is, how hasn't it, right? Or I mean, it's one of the previous guests, on the segment prior mentioned that data is the new oil, right? Which I thought was a really great phrase. But for me, when we look at business models and we look at what companies have been clamoring for literally decades, right? I mean, the thing about AI is that the demand has always been there and it's always been massive. It's just not until recently have the enabling technologies and the costs come to a point where it's usable for companies large and small, all different industries. I mean, I lived through .com one, out here in San Francisco. But I do think that, the question of how a company is using AI is going to be akin to, 25 years ago when it was how are companies using the internet, right, to improve their business models. I mean, it's so versatile. There's so many applications, so many focused benefits for companies, whether it comes to margins and obviously cost efficiencies, workforce efficiency, systems management. AI can do things in such a large scale way that would have taken massive amounts of headcount and or cost to do in the past. And so anything you can think of that requires processes that are labor intensive is going to be taken over by AI. And I think the cost efficiencies there and the way companies do business, it's going to change forever here in the near future.
100% what we're doing right now, right? And at a conference and an event like this, and I use AI on an everyday basis now. And that's really what it's all about, right? I call it like my smart friend at work, right? But in what ways has AI been utilized to increase efficiency, automate tasks, and reduce costs in the different sectors of the stock market?
Well, again, that's sort of depending on the business. I think if you are in an inventory heavy business, inventory management, right? Great spot for AI. If you are in a client service business, that's where we see the chatbots have proliferated, right? And they were around long before ChatGPT. Maybe people didn't realize they were talking to them when they hit the chat function on a website, but it's been there and it's increasing. So, and then you move on to industries like construction. Certainly, we talk a lot about healthcare, biotech, life sciences, and most people in the U.S. at least that are walking around having at least one COVID shot probably don't realize that never would have happened without AI. And so, these types of applications, I think, are, again, the importance of AI is that it's hard to really pigeonhole it to any one industry. And we'll talk a lot about the idea that it's a tech, phenomenon. It's driven by tech, but, it's going to transcend all industries.
100%. There's a lot of examples outside of the tech sector that has successfully leveraged AI, right? Like just one that I could think of off the back is healthcare. But what are some other areas also that you've seen, Michael?
Well, I think healthcare was probably leading the pack, right? Because the applications are a bit more obvious. But I certainly an offshoot of that is drug discovery. We talked about that, biotech. some great companies there that are utilizing AI. Construction, certainly, and as a previous guest just mentioned, I think the auto industry is seeing a real proliferation of AI for various reasons, and we can drill down on that. But everything, anything that could benefit from systems management, cybersecurity, I think of these days, and this never used to be the case, but these days when you it used to be give your email to a company, right? And you'd get 10% off and you had your first order, and then they would just sort of, the engagement happened through email. Now it's can they text you, right? Can they text you and they communicate by text? I got my car fixed the other day, and the dealership was automatically texting me back and forth. I'm like, let's just go. So, on the larger scale, companies like a Twilio, for example, right? They're managing that technology. I mean, when you look at your phone and you get into your phone via Face ID, that's Okta, right? So it just goes on and on. So when you log into your bank account, you're using Okta software, so it's hard to, and we could go on for 45 minutes just about different industries and how they're going to benefit from this.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to have you back on, Michael. We'll definitely dive deeper into the different sectors and get a little deeper. So you guys definitely reach out to Michael if you want to know a little bit more. I think this is a really interesting question here. Car manufacturers are increasingly positioning themselves as a tech platform. Of course, one comes to mind really quickly, but how has AI contributed to this transformation? And what are the potential implications for their stock market performance?
Yeah, well, I think that there's that question almost splinters a bit, right? Well, at least the answer does. So absolutely, I think a lot of car manufacturers have positioned themselves that way. The reality of it is, and we like to be straight with each other, Mitch here. I think the reality is a lot of them are doing that to catch the wave in valuation, right, of AI. Now, I think when you look at sort of the different technologies, you have some. I mean, autonomous driving is the big driver. It's the big, no pun intended, the big driver behind that sort of categorization. But a lot of the companies, they've started to outsource that technology, right? So they're licensing that technology from like a Mobileye, for example, which has proven to do it better than their in-house version. So what do they fall back on after that? It's data. It's the ability for their cars on the road to collect data. And if data is oil, as your previous guest said, and I don't disagree with that at all, if data is that important, then it's their data that's adding to that valuation, right? It's almost that intrinsic value of data, or millions and millions of, or trillions of terabytes of data that have been collected over years of their cars driving around. Because people don't realize if you've got a smart car and you're driving around, it's collecting data. So you're doing their job for them, right? You're creating the value for the company when you buy their car, and then also when you drive it around.
Yeah, I think back to the days when the computers in cars were pretty much nothing, right? And I think that nowadays you see what we have, and it's just the complete opposite. So it's always great to learn a little bit more about the industry. Thank you for joining me today. Of course, Michael Lucas, President and CEO of TrueMark Investments. It's always great speaking to you, Michael. We'll have you back on.
Sounds great, Mitch. Thank you.
All right, we're going to continue going with this, of course, exciting AI event, of course, looking at AI investment opportunities. Let's go ahead. Let's bring back on Zunaid and get to the next company. And you guys out there, smash the like. What are you waiting for? Let's get to it.
Awesome. Appreciate that, Mitch. Thank you so much, Michael. Love the background of SF. I just, don't want to pay the rent there. But otherwise, I love it. No question about it. I'm excited for this next interview that I've got coming up, which is going to be with Rob, who is the founder and CEO of LivePerson. The ticker is going to be LPSN. Rob, welcome to the show.
How are we doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for spending your morning with us. I really do appreciate it. I was telling my friend last night that I was going to interview you, and I was trying to explain to her what it is that your company does. I did a terrible job of it. So if you'd explain it to me like I'm five, what is it that your company does?
Yeah. So, the company originally I founded and created web chat. So we're the founder. I was the founder of that technology, which now is the basis of all what we're talking about in AI. But we made a big pivot about 7 years ago into messaging and AI platforms for customer engagement and customer care. So we work with the T-Mobiles and Home Depots and the largest brands in the world, the Delta Airlines, and if you're messaging them and communicating with them and using their automations, that's our company's technology.
What I love about your story as an individual is that I believe this company, Live Person, you founded back in 1995. The
Yes.
company prior to that, you went ahead and, invested it with your credit cards and all that other good stuff. And then when this one, you went ahead and showered in, clubs and different things like that. So I love the beginning of where this all started. I used AIM back in the day, but let's talk about how AI has changed from maybe not exactly back then, from before till today. How has it kind of evolutionized, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of stayed away from it for many years. I'm talking about 15 years ago, because it was more like automated FAQs, and then we got very good when you think about the ability to store large quantities of data with Hadoop and cheaply. That opened up a world for us. That's about 10 or 12 years ago, and then we started to get into AI heavily about 6 years ago. Around, we can use all that data to drive intents and to drive outcomes for these brands. And now with generative AI, you have the ability to really no longer handcraft bots. That's what we do today. Like every bot you talk to, it's like handcrafted. Now it's a data set and the model, and that model hitting the data set. And we have 1 billion conversations that we generate. So we have one of the largest data sets for the enterprise. And that's really what gives us power in the enterprise.
What's interesting is when I was looking at your website, one of the words that always stuck out to me, no matter what page I went on, was conversational AI. I know you mentioned one of your clients, T-Mobile. You've also got Delta. Whenever I try to call Delta, they say, hey, do you want to talk to somebody instead? So that's more of a conversational piece. You've got Home Depot. But let's talk about Pepper on the Chipotle side of things. That's a company that you work with as well. How are companies saving money by kind of using your software?
Yeah, I mean, Pepper is really interesting. I mean, during the pandemic, when people couldn't walk into Chipotle and get a burrito, we created this automation called Pepper. And basically you can order, create a burrito, do all that, and you pick it up. And so it just allowed them, if you see during the pandemic, they continued to execute and do well. And that's because of the technology. Now, beyond that, they use it for HR to manage their people in the stores. So there's so many different use cases in the enterprise. And that's really our focus, is how do we give these outcomes to reducing costs? And a lot of it's that's where it is today, because the contact center is the number one place where people want to reduce costs. That's a huge amount of headcount, and that's our focus. That's where we came from. But we're seeing these other use cases like Chipotle and other things. So.
Yeah, and especially because you've now, whenever I'm on TikTok, it has videos about like how when you go through a drive-through, it's an automated voice talking to you, taking your order, and kind of like a human interaction. So it's interesting because I went to Walmart the other day and there's no one else checking me out. It's all self-checkout. So we're kind of shifting towards this automation world, which is fascinating, but kind of scary at the same time for me. So let's talk about like the ethics of AI if we can. Are you at all concerned about all this data, all these things that are being collected for the individual, making sure that it's used in a safe manner? I'm thinking in terms of like deep fakes and voiceovers and all those things. Are you concerned about that at all?
Yeah, so we created, invested, and I created an organization called Equal AI. And this was 4.5 years ago. And the reason I did that is, as we were deeply in it with our enterprise customers, we could see that there was a great concern about bias, about things like deep fakes, all of that. So this is really what I think is the challenge with scaling it. We're working with the enterprises today with generative AI, and they're weary of it. They want it on a controlled platform. That's why we have it on our platform. We can control it. So, I think like the standards we developed in Equal AI, if everyone adopted those standards for the enterprise, we just adopted those standards in the industry, which is happening today. Miriam Vogel, who runs that org now, she's on the government, has a council for AI. She's the chairperson of that. So we have a lot of influence in this world of AI, and we're seeing that people are starting to adopt it. But I think the government ultimately should start to put parameters around, how we use it, how we utilize it, like they did in China. China took a lead on it. China took a lead on it, and that's ultimately why I think actually they have more trust. If you look at a survey that just came out from Stanford University, there was a big study on AI in China. People in China have like the greatest level of trust when it comes to this technology, because I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago, the government put in guardrails, they put in rules, and that's what happened. So
Yeah, I definitely do think we need some type of regulation. And as the technology advances, kind of like how Bitcoin was a new thing back when, and you had the government try to go ahead and make sure that the consumer was safe. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you this question. We heard news yesterday where you'll be stepping down as CEO at the end of the year. What can viewers expect, one, from today up until 2023, the end of, and then as 2024 starts, because I believe the search for a CEO has just begun?
yeah, I've been 28 years doing this. I'm the second longest public company CEO in 22 years public. I kind of done my duty. We'll have an orderly transition, and I'll be here as long as I need to make that orderly transition happen and find somebody great to run the company. And yeah, it's just, like if you see 28 years running the company, 22 years public, I think I've done 92 quarterly calls or something. I deserve something, you know what I'm saying? So I deserve some sort of an award for that. And that's what I'm looking to pass that award to somebody else. So.
Well, I'm just going to assume that it's your family calling you for lunch. So I know you're a busy man. I know you've got a son who you're hoping will be a future entrepreneur. You come from a line of entrepreneurs themselves as well. Let's talk about the company then. I appreciate you being so candid with it. What is kind of like in the pipeline, if you will, that investors or potential investors that are watching right now can expect down the pipeline? Because you already work with big companies, right? How do we grow from today?
Yeah, it's, we see obviously just the ability to automate the contact center, which that's been our focus is, I really fundamentally believe 80% of the people in contact centers can be automated, and 80% of those questions can be answered with with an automation. And now with generative AI, we can achieve that. So I think our focus is really on accelerating that. There's many things to do with our data set because it's a very rich data set. If you think about it, the ability to talk to your customers, that conversational data set, talking to your customers, I think also has a lot of power to it. So that's really where I see the focus of the business right now is just stay where we're going, keep scaling that. We have a lot more brands to go after, and we have a lot more to do within the brands that we work with.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Now, I know we've talked about the past, the present, and the future, but I did want to give you at least a minute if there's anything else that you wanted to talk to our viewers about. And by the way, I'd love to talk to you again, before the December end, no question.
Yeah, I was listening to a couple of your guests, and if I'm an investor, I'd be like, what do I invest in with AI? And everyone's AI, like everything now is AI. I think fundamentally you have to look at, from one perspective is, and it's a single question you can ask. How many automations do you actually do? Like how many automations do you take place? For instance, on our platform, 70% of the conversations on our platform have some form of automation. And I think if you want one singular focus as an investor, if you ask that question, they say, well, it's this, it's that, they need a clean answer. And that I think you'll know how to invest then, because it means you have the fundamental data set, you have the fundamental models and technology to drive the automation. And today what it's about, it's mostly about cost savings. Like we're seeing the replacement of different workflows, marketing, sales, customer service. So I think as an investor, I could see how it could be really confusing. It reminds me of .com when I got started, like where do you invest? And I think state of the fundamentals, like where does the business help another business, create automations and scale, and what cost savings do they give? If they can be clear in those answers, then it's a place to invest.
Well, I mean, congrats to you. You made it through the .com crisis, the financial crisis, the COVID crisis, any other crisis that I was too young to remember. We appreciate you for joining us, and I really do hope you get a chance to enjoy at the end of the year. Thank you so much. And you've got earnings coming up in less than a month, so I look forward to having those conversations with you soon as well.
Same here. Okay, Zunaid. Have a good one.
Take care, Rob. All right, that was a lovely interview, but we are not done yet. The show goes on. We've got Chris with a special guest.
Thanks, Zunaid, for the great interview with LivePerson founder and CEO, Rob Lacasio. Joining us now is Ziad Asghar, the Senior Vice President of Product Management and Head of AI for Qualcomm Technologies. Ziad, it's great to chat with you once again and hear what Qualcomm is doing in the AI space. And we also loved having a keynote from Cristiano Amon to kick things off today.
It's great. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, let's dive into the questions. We've got a lot of viewers here. They want to hear all about AI, and they're curious what Qualcomm is up to in the AI space. So first question here is, can you explain a little bit about how generative AI and large learning models work?
Yeah, this is a truly transformational moment in AI, right? You can see the amazing amount of capabilities that these new models are bringing with them. Generative AI models in general are basically the models that are able to create images, text, audio, video, music, all these capabilities purely from what we call a foundational model or a foundational model. This is a very large model trained with a large amount of data. And as such, you can actually adapt the model to be able to do multiple different tasks downstream. Really makes them extremely capable. I'm sure you guys have seen the demonstration of these being able to create images out of just a text prompt, or the ability to be able to generate just beautiful text and poetry and things that are not really what we associate with a lot of AI and tech areas. So these models are amazingly capable, very, very wide. Just to give you an idea, like when we show text to image on our devices, you can put in any query. So you can imagine how wide the model is, in the sense that it's able to really understand anything that you ask it about, and it's able to generate an image about that. Just shows you the width and the breadth of these things. So again, we have gone through many interesting transformations in this industry. We started with very specific, properly planned sort of step by step, if else sort of models, and then now we've gone to machine learning, and then to convolutional models. And transformers were really a seminal moment that really changed how we do a lot of these things. So the generative AI models are really based a lot of on the work that was done with transformer models.
Awesome. Thanks for that color there on generative AI and the large learning models. I'm curious, what role does Qualcomm play in the development of AI on devices?
Yeah, basically what Qualcomm is doing is we are decoupling these amazing use cases, these awesome models from the cloud. And in doing so, we're really bringing these models to the masses. Today, the guy who can basically interact with these models is a person who has access to the cloud, because many times these models are running in the cloud. But just imagine if we can actually take these large language models, if we can take these generative models, bring them onto the device, then every person that basically has a smartphone, an XR glass, an automotive, a PC, a laptop, can actually run these models. They can benefit from the productivity experiences, the entertainment aspects that these models bring. All of those people, we have about 2 billion devices that are in circulation at any given point in time. And we enable all those 2 billion people to be able to access these amazing generative AI use cases. So that's what Qualcomm is doing. We're bringing them to the device, we're bringing them to the people. And in doing so, we're really democratizing these experiences. We're allowing everybody to be able to benefit from it. And we are honestly very super excited about the fact that we have this great opportunity in front of us.
So Ziad, you just said benefits, and I know there's people out there, maybe they're a little shy in the AI space, maybe they're a little bit hesitant. Can you talk more about the benefits of bringing generative AI workloads on device?
Yeah, so see, think about it. Today, like I said, the model gets trained in the cloud. So it's inferred in the cloud as well. But what we showed, starting this year, is that you can actually take fairly large models and bring them onto the device. So what does that give to an average person? So let's say you put in a query. What happens today? That query goes to the cloud. It's inferred over there, and you get back the prompt. What we are saying you can do now is you enter that query. It stays exactly on the device. It's inferred, and you get the response right on the device. So that data, that piece never left the device. So the privacy aspect, which is one of the biggest concerns that consumers have with generative AI, is really addressed by doing it on device. That's one benefit. Now, the second benefit, and we have multiple customers who've come to us and said, look, when I run this amazing use case in the cloud, it actually costs me. And the fact that we are saying, Chris, today is that not only are you dealing with larger models, because these generative AI models are larger. Number two, you're dealing with a lot more use cases. With all the excitement around it, basically people are doing a lot more with these generative AI use cases. That's a multiplicative effect. And then lastly, you have hundreds of thousands and millions of people coming in to use these special experiences. So when you multiply these three factors, we believe the only way for generative AI to really get its full potential is for these cases to run on the device, because the cloud will never have enough capability and it will incur a certain cost that not everybody can pay. So really a huge benefit in terms of cost, in terms of privacy. In addition to that, many times you might be in a location where you don't have access to the cloud. But now when you can do this completely on the device, you take away that scenario too. Another very critical one, and that I really like, is personalization. Your device knows more about you than anybody else. It kind of knows your likes and dislikes and what's reasonable for you, what isn't reasonable for you. And we can actually take all of that and make that generative AI experience even better, because now that experience is customized to you. It's customized to each and every consumer rather than being very general. So like I always give this example, but let's say you're creating this amazing virtual world around you in VR. But that world is basically planned by somebody sitting in the cloud, by perhaps a graphic designer that creates all the content and the 3D objects in it. Well, what if we could basically take all the data that I have about you, Chris, on the device, and then create 3D objects that actually you like, the themes, the textures, the colors, and basically bring those onto that experience. So I believe that the experience is vastly better on the device than what you're able to get otherwise. So for all these reasons, and some of the proprietary concerns that people have also as they interface in an enterprise setting, and if you, for example, are trying to find a bug in a code, and you put that code online somewhere, well, that's a problem because that code is proprietary for that company. Now, what we are proposing is you can actually have that code generated or debugged completely on the device. So there are vast and massive amounts of benefits. And the last one I'd say is that the people who can benefit most from generative AI are many times people who may not have access to it, but are bringing on the device. We're giving access to those people to be able to leverage generative AI.
Yeah, I love that. I know the last time we spoke, we talked a lot about privacy and security and how generative AI was helping, with that on the device. So we appreciate that color. Ziad, can you talk about some of the use cases for generative AI on device that people out there maybe aren't aware of or they've heard of and want to learn more?
Yeah, so I think these fall in many categories, Chris, right? So if you're talking about a personal device like a smartphone, many times these are entertainment-like use cases, right? So you, for example, a great example is that, we could take this picture of the conversation we're having, but I can say, hey, have me sitting in front of, Pacific Ocean at sunset, and it can actually create that amazing background for me. And both of us could be sitting over there having this interview, for example. So we can do that in the audio sense. We can do that in the image sense or still image sense, and we can also do it in the video like use cases. And the great part about it is you just talk to your device and basically it generates that use case for you. But smartphones today, just like PCs, are also productivity devices. So if you have the ability to be able to tell your device, hey, please create this email for me, or summarize this large document for me, and can you find these key questions and answer those questions for me? Or this conference call that we're having, if it could automatically transcribe it for you. And at the same time, you and I could be speaking perhaps different languages, and what we hear is the right language automatically, and we're able to converse seamlessly. We take those transcribed notes, we're able to create PowerPoints out of it, we're able to create action items out of it, completely seamlessly. So I feel that it takes away a lot of the mundane and perhaps busy work that people have, frees it up for people to be able to do real, productive, novel sort of work. And I think that's where humans really excel. Similarly, I think in the automotive context, you can have an amazing experience of charting multiple different paths from an origin to a destination and finding the right way and the best way to be able to get there, or to be able to have this amazing conversational sort of an experience akin to the Knight Rider experience that some of us are used to as kids growing up. But well, you can have that experience today with your car and tell it, hey, take me there, or hey, I want to stop over on the way to get a great pizza, suggest me a place, all those sorts of things that are really seamless. And I always also say, I'm coming into work usually thinking about 5 things in my head. Hey, I got to go and tackle these 5 main issues today. I'd be able to talk to my car and say, schedule these 5 meetings for me as soon as I get in there with these people. And basically it's able to do that for me. So I really think the use cases it's just something we're scratching the surface today. And what I've talked a lot about, Chris, is really single modality. What's coming up is multi-modal AI, which means it's not just text to image or text to text. It's X to X, which means it could be, image to text for example, people who are visually impaired, right? Or it could be, for example, text to video, or it could be image to video. Like all of those amazing use cases are still coming. We're just getting started, really.
I love it, and love the Knight Rider reference once again. I want to thank Ziad Asgar for his time today. And Ziad, I look forward to talking to you real soon.
Thank you.
Awesome. We are going to kick things back over to Aaron. Aaron.
What is up, Chris? Always great to hear from Qualcomm and see what they've got going on over there. A massive company. Great interview, Chris, as always. Quick docket for the rest of the agenda. I'm going to bring on in a few seconds here Steven Swanson from Versus AI. Excited about that. And then we'll be talking to Weldon from Craft after that. And that will wrap up today's AI webinar. Of course, thanks to everyone in the audience who has tuned in today. Please smash the like if you have not already today, or our YouTube channel right here at Benzinga is the only place you're going to get these great in-depth interviews with different companies like Qualcomm, Versus, Craft, you name it. So smash that like if you have not already. So without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome on Steven from Versus AI.
Hey, Aaron, how you doing? Nice to be here.
Good, Steven. How are you?
Not too shabby. Doing well, thank you.
Well, it's great to have you joining us.
Came before me.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've got kind of a stacked lineup today, but we're excited to just be talking to everyone in this space. AI has been the story of Wall Street in 2023, the thing that everyone has been talking about. I know I don't need to tell you guys this, but Steven, with that said, I mean, what's your take on the kind of overall landscape of AI, your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, first, I think it's an amazing time to be alive, and we get to witness all this, innovation and technology coming to fruition, and all the applications and the implications, mostly hopefully positive in the coming quarters and years. So I would say that the level of excitement is at an all-time high. I mean, there's a $1.3 billion invested in Inflection AI, the chatbot that they have called Pi, that obviously is like second to the $10 billion that OpenAI got earlier this year. And you've got Adept and Cohere and Stability and Anthropic and many others. So very exciting to see how that plays out in the coming years. I think with regard to like large language models and generative AI, it's just an amazing amount of content, the imagery, the videos, the text that's coming out of it. And I think will certainly level us up from a productivity perspective. As we think about going forward, what it's going to take to unlock the full potential of AI, there's two things that we think a lot about and then we build into our systems. First one is data interoperability. And it's not just the data that goes into these models that are generated, but also the data that's available that the models are applied to extract insights and information, recommendations, et cetera. And so the provenance, the lineage, the veracity, the comprehensiveness, the implicit biases in these data is really important to understand. Second thing is trust. They say that change happens at the speed of trust. And so when it comes to things like auditability, explainability, privacy, security, policies, regulation, legislation, compliance, all these things are absolutely paramount to bring to bear so that we can unlock more data that's shared, because the more data, the more context, the better decisions and increasing levels of automation.
Got it. So, Steven, I mean, from the Wall Street investing perspective, we talk a lot about how AI is going to impact different companies' bottom lines and the future of NVIDIA or Google or Microsoft, et cetera. But what about from like a societal perspective? Like, how do you see AI impacting society? Are we going to see, parents using ChatGPT to ask them how to deal with their kids getting in trouble at school? Like, what do you think the overall kind of more societal impacts of AI will look like?
Yeah, it's funny to answer that question, because we kind of think of intelligence as potentially some of the most valuable stuff in the cosmos, right? And it's like an elemental force, like electricity or fire. So when you're like, what's the impact? What's it good for? Like, well, what's the value proposition of the internet? It's really hard to say because it's so horizontal in nature. But I think it will weave its way into how we operate at all different levels. And I think those that are leaning into it as opposed to being scared of it are the ones who will take advantage of it and move it forward the fastest. But yeah, I mean, parents, kids, grandparents, certainly there's a generational, resistance and obviously geographically and things like that. But it's there for the taking for anybody who wants to wield it.
Got it. Yeah. So why don't we back up for a second? Do you mind telling me just a little bit more about Versus and kind of what makes you guys different from other players in the AI space?
Yeah, absolutely. Versus is a cognitive computing company, and we are developing generalized intelligent agents. And so in order to do that, we've kind of had to reimagine the computing stack, by which I mean there's the data, the logic, and the interface components of computing in general. And so on the data side, we looked around at what's on the market from relational databases, knowledge graphs, vector databases, and found a bit of a gap. And so we've had to do some engineering and electrical and plumbing on the data side, sort of like Apple had to do when they were manufacturing the iPhone. They had to do some re-engineering in order to create that product. So there's some innovation happening on that front. And then on the logic side, I referenced agents. And so to contrast it against the generative AI that we're seeing now, those models are based on transformative technology from Google about 10 years ago. And ultimately what they're doing is taking large amounts of data, analyzing it, looking for correlations, looking for patterns, and getting really good at predicting what the next most likely pixel or text is in a sequence. What we're doing differently is more about causal modeling. And so when you think about human level intelligence, when we're infants, we have human level intelligence, but we don't know that much. And so we have to interact with the world, develop beliefs and theories about how things work. And as we interact and we learn what's hot and cold and soft and sharp, we update those models, those belief systems, with the goal of ultimately trying to increase our predictability and reduce our surprise about how things work. And so it's the difference between correlation and causation. And then lastly, on the interface side, historically speaking, we digitalized the world into spreadsheets and columns, or spreadsheets, rows and columns and databases, and built applications to infer and deduce and figure out what's going on, try to understand between our business and our personal lives and all these different apps, app for this, app for that. And frankly, we're not fantastic at it. And so we see some of the innovations that I just talked about from a data and an interface perspective, coupled with other technologies like natural language processing, eye tracking, biometric recognition, pose recognition, so that there's a change where instead of us having to learn to speak a computer, computers can learn more about us and our intentions.
Yeah, because I mean, we as humans can do some of that stuff, but it's probably going to take us a little bit longer than what AI is going to be able to do. Steven, who is versus target customer?
Ultimately, we are looking for risk takers and pioneers. This is all new territory for everybody. Fundamental to not just AI and underpinning it, which I alluded to earlier, is just the nature of data. And I think one of the biggest pain points in all of digital is finding and aggregating and understanding data. And so because of how that underpins what we're doing, any company that, sure, they're looking for AI, but even before that, they're just looking to make sense of their data and aggregate it and integrate it. So enterprise customers. And then ultimately, I think the level of complexity that I alluded to, that even we as consumers and individuals have to triangulate, there will be tremendous value that comes out of having a unified experience to interact with that data with your agent as kind of your shepherd or your proxy.
Got it. So, Steven, why do you think that investors should keep Versus on their radar?
So about every 15 years or so, there's kind of a step function in computing. If you look back, starting with mainframes, and then we had the advent of the internet, and then we had personal computers, and then the World Wide Web, and then most recently mobile. Those are all about a 15-year gap, and about 15-ish years ago is when mobile kind of erupted. And in each one of those eras, you have a dominant player that's part of the infrastructure that creates something that catalyzes and enables that era. Beginning with Intel and IBM from the mainframe, you've got Cisco, Juniper, Broadcom that kind of brought about the hardware and switches and routers of the internet, and then Windows operating system for PCs, Google, Facebook, et cetera, are the dominant players for the web. And for mobile, you've got Android and iOS. And so for investors that are looking for some exposure to not just AI, but kind of this next wave that we're coming upon, that's really a convergence of all technologies, that's the place that we're playing.
Yeah, we have a phrase for that here at Benzinga. We call it like the thing behind the thing, right? There's always like the, kind of customer facing, the thing in the forefront, but then there's usually something else, maybe another company behind that thing that's kind of powering it. And as investors, if you can figure out what that thing behind the thing is, usually it can lead to some pretty good returns.
Yeah, we hope so.
All right, well, Steven, it's been great to chat with you today. Great to learn more about Versus. Anything else you want to leave us with before I let you get on with the rest of your day?
Yeah, I would say that this is a long game, and so the markets will fluctuate and there will be peaks and valleys. But at the end of the day, slow and steady wins the race.
Well, there you have it, Steven. Thanks again for hopping on with us here on Benzinga. Hope to speak to you again in the future, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Great, thanks a lot, Aaron. Take care.
No problem. You as well. Alrighty, guys, that was Steven Swanson from Versus AI. We've got that website in the description. We're going to go check out more from them. Coming up next, we've got Weldon Rice joining us from Craft, another very exciting company. Last but not least, to round out this very special virtual event. Again, for all those in the audience, thank you for tuning in. Please smash the like if you have not already, and subscribe to the channel for more different events, shows, news updates, you name it, you can find it here on Benzinga. All righty, without further ado, let's bring on Mr. Rice. How you doing, Weldon?
Hey, doing all right. Doing all right. How about yourself?
Good. Thanks for joining us today. So let's hop straight into it. Why don't you just tell me a little bit about Craft and what you guys do?
Absolutely. Absolutely. First, thanks for having me on. And yeah, Craft Technologies, we are, in terms of looking at how we fit into the AI landscape, we are really at the intersection of artificial intelligence and investing. And I think that's should be really exciting for a lot of your viewers here. We are really a pioneer in bringing the application of artificial intelligence into the investment management. And what really sets us apart is that we built a vertically integrated in-house AI system that processes, the automation and computing power of AI. With the oversight of our investment experts who've been in the industry for a while, and really what this means in terms of practicality is that we build investment portfolios of public securities, and we bring those to the public. Frankly speaking, AI is not new to the investment space. In hedge funds and other areas. We all know Renaissance Technologies and other places. They've used Citadel as well. They're using AI technologies, and what Craft is really working to do is to bring AI-powered strategies to, everyday investors out there, so that they can have access to that as well. And we were founded in 2016, and we're founded by our founder Marcus Kim here in Seoul. We're a company based out of Seoul, and he was an electrical engineer and economics major that took up trading and had some success. But over time, his strategies started struggling. He felt that with more high frequency traders coming into the market, he was losing a bit of his edge, and he really needed to find a competitive edge in the market again. And that, necessity is sort of the mother of invention. And so he realized that, he needed a new solution. And for him, AI was that solution. And this was far back as 2016. And he's built this company now. And just a year ago, we received $146 million from SoftBank.
Wow.
For our Series C round. And we've now expanded from Korea. We have offices in Hong Kong and US as well. We're continuing to keep things rolling.
Yeah, that sounds like some impressive growth. And I always love talking to different companies in this space that have been doing it for a number of years. 2016, 7 years ago, a lot of companies you hear about that are in AI popped up, 3 months ago, or, when ChatGPT came out. But it's interesting, Weldon, right now, right? The whole investing world has been so enamored with this idea of AI and with this idea of machine learning and what the potential can unlock. But from the investing world, and specifically the high frequency trading world, I think a lot of people within that space have recognized the power of, algos and machine learning for years and years and years. And this type of quant trading and high frequency trading has been going on. Do you mind describing to me? I'm not the most smart guy when it comes to the technology stuff. What's the difference between the high frequency trading, the quant trading that's been going on for years and years and years, versus the new AI that we're seeing through ChatGPT and through other ventures?
Sure. In terms of the technology, traditional quant strategies start generally with human intuition, in that someone has to come up with sort of an idea about what, a theory about what might work. And then you go about constructing a pretty complex algorithm to make that happen. And that it does involve, similar to AI, it does involve crunching a lot of numbers and doing a lot of calculations. But the difference between that and artificial intelligence is that in AI, we don't have to come up with necessarily the intuition. there is some human input into AI in terms of what data goes into the model, obviously. And there is some guidance, as we said, from, we have, investment experts with many years in the field. But at the same time, the artificial intelligence is able to, really good at finding patterns itself. And so it's able to train and learn on the data by itself and find unique patterns that, most of us humans, we may not find. And I think that's the real true value of it. And, for us, the way we really apply AI into our technology or into our products is not just in the high frequency trading, but even in long only strategies, in more normal, I say normal, but regular frequency strategies. Generally, our portfolios are reconstructing about every month, or even as often as a week. And we can use our AI to select stocks. We can look at the fundamental data from the bottom up and actually pick a portfolio of stocks. But we can also do top down, looking at the macro and the risk level in the market, and use our AI to do some asset allocation as well across either one asset class or multi-asset classes as well.
Yeah, so Weldon, speaking of the different, strategies and whatnot you guys are working on at Craft, you guys recently put out a new fund, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Tell me a little bit about it. I'm a buyer right now. I'm looking out for, new investments, new funds. I'm in the market. So tell me about this new fund.
Good. Well, I think this is what I love about, our new strategy that we've launched in the ETF space. Is it's our first asset allocation strategy that we've launched. And essentially what our AI, this is one of the core components of our asset allocation models. And it takes in over 70 different macro and asset class variables. Some of those looking at the momentum, volatility, and correlation among those asset classes. And we let the AI model train on all that data. And then what it produces is a risk signal. So essentially we can, our AI model makes a prediction on the risk each week in the model. And that score actually gets translated as the allocation between equities and cash equivalents. So essentially, if our AI model says, "Hey, no risk in the market," and it says 0, we're full on bullish 100% equities. If we're 100%, we might be down 100%, up to 100% cash. So we're really trying to navigate market drawdowns. But then, one of the drawbacks of a lot of strategies that try to do this sort of thing is, you can use technical indicators and other such things. But the downside is sometimes they really lag, not only the downside, but also getting back into the market. So we believe that AI brings a unique perspective to that. And, looking at the certain market that we're in, right? The market's been bullish. A lot of the data, a lot of people are bearish. Where should we go? Should we position, a little bit conservative? Where should we be? Our AI over the last almost couple of months since we've launched the strategy, it's been 100% equities pretty much the whole way. So, frankly, my own personal opinion, I don't think I have the guts to maybe do that right now. But hey, the AI is able to do it, and that's the beauty of it. It doesn't have any bias. It doesn't have any fear. It doesn't, worry about what decision it's going to make. It just makes the best decision based on the data.
Well, yeah, because the AI is not going to be the one that's losing its money at the end of the day. If it's so, it can go full risk on. But it's funny in this I have no clue where the market's going or what it's going to do.
Right.
But going back 6 months ago or whatever, it's like everyone was talking about, oh my God, this is the highest. You can get the best rate on T-bills that you could have gotten in the past 15 years. Go buy these risk-free investments. But if you could go back in time, you would have been better off just buying SPY at that point instead of these risk-free things. And stuff like that, the AI can maybe start to see a little bit better before than even humans can. So I think that stuff's super interesting. Last question, Weldon, is I want to make sure I ask you about Craft's Momentum Fund and what you guys are doing. I mean, we've seen NVIDIA just run like crazy this year. I mean, how have you guys been, has this been part of your funds?
Absolutely. Yeah. Our momentum strategy is sort of one of our more popular strategies because it's highly concentrated. We only have 50 holdings in the portfolio every month. So we get, and because it's momentum, we get a lot of, really good names in there. And in June, our momentum strategy picked up NVIDIA. We had almost an 8% allocation, which was the largest allocation in the portfolio. And we really hit that huge bump there in June. But surprisingly, that was in May. And in June, we actually, this is again, the AI making much different decisions than maybe most humans would, but took the NVIDIA completely out in June. And, what we believe is, so one key difference between our momentum strategy compared to traditional momentum strategy is that we do take in the traditional momentum, factors, certain time periods of momentum. But on top of that, we also have our AI takes in data for other variables and other factors in the market. And also we've seen it tend to penalize stocks that it feels that it might overshoot. So for example, back in 2020, it picked up Tesla and it bought the dip in November of 2020 and then took profit in February of 21 at the all-time high, and then took it back again, back in that following May. So again, in a similar fashion, we're seeing this month in July, we just picked NVIDIA back up again. It's one of our top 2 holdings for this month. So it's quite interesting to see how this momentum strategy is faring, and we'll see how things go this month.
Yeah, there's a little irony in there that the AI that's, determining these is then putting NVIDIA in, which is running because of AI. There's this whole kind of cycle going on there. I like it. You just got to get into it. Weldon, thank you for joining us today. It's been great to learn more about Craft. I hope we get to speak again at some point in the near future. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday or Friday. I don't know when it is in Seoul right now.
It's already Friday morning in Korea, so
okay,
the future's good. The future's bright.
Beautiful. Yeah, let me know. Email me if anything big happens that I need to know about before tomorrow morning. Okay.
I will.
All right. Well, then enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll chat soon. Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Have a great.
All righty, let's go ahead and bring Matt back up here. Thank you to Matt for putting together this whole thing. It's been a great conversations we've had with these companies. Great overall event. Matt, how are you doing?
Doing well, Aaron. Great job. And thank you again to Weldon for a really stellar close to today's AI in the Future event. On that note.
Yeah, last but certainly not least, it's important there to finish strong.
Indeed. And on behalf of the entire Benzinga team, I want to thank all of our great guests today. Their expertise, their analysis, their enthusiasm were really a treat for us, and I'm sure for our audience as well. And speaking of our audience, I want to, of course, thank you all for taking the time out of your day to join us. We at Benzinga are committed to really ramping up our virtual event offerings and webinars in the weeks and months to come. We plan to host a live webinar every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So we hope you'll tune in. You can learn more about our upcoming events at benzinga.com/events. Finally, one last shout out to our sponsors who again made this event possible. So thank you again to Kaiju ETF Advisors, Toggle 3D AI, Recore, Versus AI, and Craft Technologies, as well as our technology partner, Daily Hunt. It was a pleasure working with each one of these companies. We appreciate you lending your perspective to today's conversation. All right, folks, that is a wrap from the entire team here at Benzinga. Thank you for joining us. I hope we'll see you at another Benzinga event really soon. Until then, be well.